Eagles second-year pass rusher Nolan Smith just put the NFL on notice at training camp as he dominated the Eagles offensive line during practice, and Nick Sirianni had some very high praise for him, as it seems like the former Georgia Bulldog could be in line for a much better sophomore season. Meanwhile, one surprise Eagles offensive lineman is making headlines at camp, as he seems like he could be in line for a significant role this season, and potentially maybe even a starting job. Meanwhile, the cornerback battle between Kelee Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers is heating up, while CJ Gardner-Johnson has apparently improved during the offseason. So we're going to talk about all that and all the other news from camp, and we won't waste any time. Let's get straight into it. So I think it's safe to say that the Eagles offense has been absolutely cooking to start off training camp, as all the reports coming out show that Jalen Hurts and the new Kellen Moore-led offense have been crisp and operating at a high level leading up to Monday's practice. And on top of the reports, we actually got some concrete stats breaking down how each and every player on the offense has performed so far, with reporter Elliot Shore-Parks keeping track of everything from the first three practices, and the Birds' key offensive players have been showing out. Now, as we know, Jalen Hurts has been off to an insane start, completing 48 of his 55 passes, while also not turning the ball over once, and being just unbelievably accurate with his throws. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley has gotten a lot of touches. In fact, he's gotten the most touches out of anybody, and they've all been with the first team, as he had 8 carries and 6 catches through 3 practices, while A.J. Brown had 10 catches on 10 targets, so no surprise there. Dallas Goedert had 7 catches on 8 targets, and finally, to round out the list of star playmakers, Devontae Smith had 8 catches on 10 targets, including what is probably the play of training camp so far, as in this clip, he absolutely mossed Kelee Ringo during team drills. And obviously, these numbers are now dated after everything from today's practice, and trust me, we're going to get into all that a bit later, but I just thought it was cool to see the real recorded stats from camp. And also, I didn't even mention the stats from everybody, as it's not just the stars that look good, as everyone from the first team down to the third team on offense are seemingly performing well, and that includes current wide receiver 3 favorite Parris Campbell, who has 4 catches on 4 targets so far at camp. And he also had this really nice play during one-on-ones on Saturday, where he beat Darius Slay deep, and Jalen gave him the absolute perfect pass so that Campbell could come down with a touchdown grab. So it seems like Campbell is doing everything he can to win the wide receiver 3 job and really become a piece for this offense this year, as after a disappointing season with the Giants, there is no doubt that he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's hungry to right the ship. And maybe that's why he's such a great fit with the Eagles, because he could say the same exact thing about them after their horrible finish last season. And in a recent appearance on the Varsity House podcast, Campbell revealed that the Eagles have been working extra hard this offseason to bounce back from last year.
You know, talking about that chip that the team and the organization has, like, but we walked into it, like, OTAs and the offseason program, like, I was like, yo, we kind of, like, we grinding, like, what's going on? Like, usually, like, the offseason program kind of chill, relax, let guys, you know what I'm saying, get back into it. I'm like, yo, was y'all doing this last year? And like, nah, bro, like, we finished 1-7, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't sweet. Like, we're trying to, you know what I'm saying, get guys back going. And when I signed with them, talking to Howie Roseman, the GM, that was kind of like what he was telling me. He was like, yo, like, we think you had that chip on your shoulder just from what happened with you. And he was like, I can tell you damn straight, like, we got that chip on our shoulder just because of how we finished.
So you love to hear that the Eagles are using last year's finish as motivation, and then they've been going extra hard this offseason to make sure that they're prepared, and so whatever happens last year doesn't happen again. And also, I love that Campbell is hungry individually, and hopefully he can actually make a significant impact with the Birds this season. And someone else who's hungry is CJ Gardner-Johnson, as the Eagles returning safety has been working extra hard this offseason, according to his trainer, to make sure he comes out and has a great year. And apparently, CJ may have actually gotten even better from the last time we saw him with the Eagles, with the Birds' other safety, Reed Blankenship, saying this about him after Saturday's practice.
Any improvements in CJ's game?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's one of those guys that he's a well-known safety in the league. He's proven himself, especially when he was here in 22. You know, he was a leading interception leader in, I guess, the whole year, you know, and he's a ball player, you know, that's what we need, and, you know, I'm glad we have him.
So you love to hear Reed hype up his partner at safety like that, and while he didn't go into detail at all about what CJ has improved on, and he more so just praised the player that CJ already has proven to be, he did obviously say there in the beginning that CJ has 100% gotten better from when he was here last, and that should be scary for opposing offenses, because CJ is already a playmaker at safety, and arguably a star caliber one at that, so if he's gotten even better, that's just amazing, and I cannot understate how much more valuable he's going to be for this Eagles defense, and the same goes for Reed, because I think he's going to have a great season and show plenty of improvement in Vic Fangio's defensive scheme. And honestly, I just think the duo of Blankenship and CJ together has the potential to be special this year. As Reed had this to say about the chemistry between the two of them and how they complement each other.
You know, I love being back there with them. Our communication's been really good. It's getting to the point where we just know what each other's doing and just end up in the right spot at the right time. You know, that's what duo safeties are really good at now in the league, just knowing what our job description is. I believe that me and CJ make a pretty good couple.
So that's pretty awesome to hear, because it sounds like Reed and CJ already have great chemistry and communication, which were two problems for the overall defense last year, and that chemistry that they have will only help with putting each of them in positions to succeed and make plays, while also reducing the number of lapses and sloppy mistakes. And honestly, I mean, you can kind of apply the same thing to the entire team right now, in the sense that as opposed to last year, the Birds seem to have better chemistry and be more on the same page, as there have been a lot less sloppy plays and stupid mistakes to start camp than there were last year. So that's definitely a great sign, and hopefully it continues that way. Speaking of which, the Birds were back at practice on Monday and a ton went down. Unfortunately though, the Eagles were missing a few major starters, with Saquon Barkley being out for a personal reason while Lane Johnson was out with a toe issue, and then probably the most notable injury is to another one of the starting offensive linemen, as right guard Tyler Steen didn't practice with an ankle injury. As Steen went out towards the end of practice on Saturday and didn't return, and on Sunday, reporter Jeff McClain gave us an update on Steen, saying he could miss the next few days of practice, and also noting that Darian Kinnard was the one replacing him on Saturday. But now with Steen obviously being out for the entirety of Monday's practice, it was Mekhi Becton taking the majority of the reps in his place with the first team. And Nick Sirianni actually spoke to the media before practice, where he talked about Becton and the opportunities that he's going to get moving forward with Steen's injury and also in general.
Yeah, he's going to get some work in there today. I'm looking forward to that. You know, he's had a good Mekhi's had a good camp so far, and looking forward to get him some work that next to Lane and continue to work forward with that. So, as bummed as we are that Steen's going to be out for a little bit, and again, not giving a timeline there, it shouldn't be something that's long. Give other people opportunities to work, and Mekhi will be one of those guys.
I'm honestly starting to think that this whole Mekhi Becton situation is getting pretty interesting, as it's clear that the Eagles think he's a very valuable piece on the offensive line, and they like his potential and versatility to play multiple different positions. Plus, he's already got a ton of opportunities to play with the first team during camp in various spots, and again, obviously with Steen's injury, he's going to get the chance to work in at right guard with the first team, and if there's one position on the offensive line that has some competition, it's the right guard spot, and now with Steen out, Becton is going to get way more opportunities to show why he deserves a real chance to be the starter. Now, I still think that Steen's the favorite, and he'll more than likely end up being the starter at right guard, but I'm definitely not counting out Becton because, again, the Eagles really seem to like him a lot, and they're clearly excited about him. So I think there's no question that Becton will have a significant role with the offensive line this year, even if he's not a starter, and Landon Dickerson actually spoke to what Becton's role could look like this season if he doesn't start.
I think Mekhi's doing great. He's had to bounce around to a few positions. We've had some guys get banged up. Nothing different than what happens during the season, right? You got a guy that can swing both tackles, swing both guards. That's a lot of value in the NFL, being able to play 4 out of 5 positions.
So what do you guys think? What do you think Becton's role is going to look like this year, and what chances do you give him of stealing the starting right guard job? But now, switching to another positional battle, it seems like the battle at cornerback is possibly starting to at least slightly sway in a certain direction, and we're going to get into that and so much more in just a minute. But before that, just real quick here, I do want to say, if you are enjoying this video and don't want to miss any others just like it, covering the Eagles, covering Eagles training camp, and all other Eagles related things coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you're notified instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us, because not only do I get more people watching my videos, but you guys don't miss any other Eagles coverage just like this. And also, while you're at it, drop a like, it does help me out a ton. And now with that being said, let's get back into the video. So now, getting back to the battle at cornerback, it seems like it slightly started to sway in one direction, as Kelee Ringo was the starter today, making this the third time in 4 training camp practices that he started out with the first team. And Ringo has apparently had a solid camp so far, as well as also having a really impressive spring. So you have to wonder if him getting the start the majority of the time means that he's winning that battle so far. However, Isaiah Rodgers definitely is not going away, and he's still very much in the contest, as he's still getting a ton of first team reps at different points, and he also had a super impressive play today, breaking up a pass from Kenny Pickett to Joseph Ngata that would have been a deep touchdown. So I don't know, man. I think this battle is not going to be won until the very end of camp, and it's going to be tight throughout. Ringo may potentially maybe have this slight edge right now, just based on the fact that he started the majority of practices, but Rodgers certainly is going to get more opportunities to do that as well. So I just cannot wait to see how the rest of this battle plays out. And staying with the defense, some of those guys on that side of the ball made great plays today, with the previously mentioned Reed Blankenship getting a tackle for loss on a quarterback run. James Bradbury also had a nice pass breakup at safety on the second team, and defensive tackle Jordan Davis continues to have a nice camp, and he started off practice right by blowing up the first play, getting into the backfield instantly. But perhaps the most interesting thing about Davis, though, is that he cut his hair off, so it's certainly weird seeing him with this new look, but it's definitely not bad. But it was another Georgia Bulldog who was turning heads today, as Nolan Smith Smith had a phenomenal practice, sacking Jalen Hurts on one play as he beat backup right tackle Fred Johnson, and then getting a great pressure on the very next play as he beat Johnson again. And this is just so exciting, as Nolan obviously had a ton of hype coming into his rookie season last year, but he just didn't really get many opportunities. But now this year, it looks like that's going to change, and it's just awesome to see him making the most of his opportunities and going all out during training camp. And speaking of that, Nick Sirianni actually listed Nolan Smith by name when listing guys that have been relentless and also showing toughness during camp.
Yeah, again, we're looking for guys to play with great detail, great toughness. I've seen the toughness really show up. I'll single out a couple of the defensive ends where I've really seen that toughness really show up. That physical toughness, that relentless effort. Patrick Johnson, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt. I've really seen them, hustling to the football. Just the relentless effort really, and the toughness really shows up with those three guys, and been excited. There is a lot of mixing and matching, and we're trying to get an evaluation on everybody as guys learn how to play together. But I would single those guys out as far as their relentless effort, their toughness that they've been playing with throughout camp.
So you absolutely love to hear that, and hopefully Nolan is able to keep it going in camp and carry it over into the regular season and reach to a much bigger year. And I'm personally confident that he's going to do that. And someone else who looks like they're primed for a bigger season is quarterback Jalen Hurts, as QB1 continued his impressive start to camp, making some great plays on Monday, including being effective using his legs at different moments, and also making some great throws, including a deep touchdown to Devontae Smith over Avonte Maddox, although it may not have actually counted as a touchdown, as Milton Williams got good pressure and got what I believe did count as a sack, but Hurts still made the great play anyway. And overall, Hurts did have a bit of a down day just compared to what he's been doing, but he still played very well, completing 10 of his 13 passes, not turning the ball over, and also escaping with his legs a lot, as he was apparently just under pressure all day with the defensive line winning versus the offensive line consistently throughout practice. So it's just good to hear that Hurts is continuing to play well as we get deeper into training camp. And then also staying with the offense, a couple of the rookies actually got reps with the first team today, with Johnny Wilson running with the starters at receiver at one point, which is cool because I do think that Wilson could be a really good red zone threat in specific situations for the Birds this year. And then Will Shipley also made some nice plays with the first team at running back, catching multiple passes, with one in particular being a 20-plus yarder down the sideline where he caught it over the shoulder. So that was definitely cool, and overall, it was a fun and exciting practice for sure. But training camp is really going to pick up tomorrow with the pads coming on for the first time. So with the guys being able to be more physical and go more all out, we're going to get an even better idea where this team is, and other players are going to start to stand out a lot more. So I'm going to be covering all that tomorrow, and also just continuing to cover the Birds throughout the entirety of training camp and also moving into the regular season. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos just like this. And also while you're at it, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like. I'd greatly appreciate it, and it does help me out a ton. And also leave a comment down below just regarding anything else that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another Eagles video going over the Eagles' third practice at training camp, you can check this out right here. Now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.